Well, this is the 13th Mizna Arab Film Festival. It's going to be here from 27th to September 27th to the 30th, right? It's 4 days, about 20 films. And we are be talking to Michelle Baroody here, East, and this is film made by Arabs or about Arabs. So, let's just start with you as a woman. You know, this is a few film in this festival about women, made by women, and we have the women movement and Me Too, and a lot of talk about women now getting involved in politics and film, and they try to tell their own story, because it's been traditional, even in Hollywood, men tell women's story. And
the first thing, our festival, a lot of people have ideas about, patriarchy in the Arab world and how it manifests and what it looks like. But I think in film, especially, ever since our festival's been around, this is the 13th edition of it, we've always showcased films by Arab women, and women have always been making films for many decades in the Middle East, in North Africa. Lots of documentary filmmakers, but narrative filmmakers as well. This year we have quite a few narratives made by women. As you mentioned, our opening night film is Lebanese director Nadine Labaki, whose work we've screened in the past, and she's an actress, she's a director, so it's exciting to have her. Shireen Nishat, who's actually an Iranian filmmaker, but has made a lot of pictures that or films like Women Without Men, films that tackle this idea of patriarchy in the Middle East. So I think that there's this idea that women are not involved in filmmaking or not involved in these practices, but they've been pretty active in the Middle East for a long time.
Kulthum is a star now. She has made it to the very top.
Film looking for Kulthum. This is a very interesting take about a woman making a film about this great diva of the Middle East. But it wasn't just about Kulthum. It's about the struggle of women to do her own things. Absolutely. I would say this film, it's about Shireen. It's like a biography, autobiography about her, because she's always struggling between a woman and talking about women, and that's making a film. You have to have some sacrifices.
I think she's trying to make connections between the past and the present, and showing that many things haven't changed. Because the story, the narrative of the film is about Kulthum and about her struggle in a patriarchal world. But that story is being mirrored by the filmmaker who is making this film, who is struggling struggling because she's identified as a mother who is estranged from her child, and that she's trying to make a film. She's both culturally out of place because she's trying to make this film in Egypt, and she's an Iranian filmmaker, and she does get a lot of pushback, especially from Egyptian men in the film who, think one, she doesn't even speak Arabic. Why is she taking on this subject matter? And two, how that she's a woman in charge of the film, and so you see the subtle ways that the patriarchy has changed, but also hasn't, that it still puts women in a position to always be sort of working, especially in the arts, kind of working against the larger patriarchy. So.
جماعة حد يتكلم مع الراجل ده. مين الراجل ده؟
لا ده تامر المخرج الفيلم.
الصراحة أنا مش فاهمة فجر ليه ظبطت على نفسها في البوسة دي.
فجر مستعدة تعمل المشهد، لكن لازم نصور البوسة من غير ما يبقى في بوسة حقيقية. هو حضرتك قريت السيناريو؟ طبعا قريت السيناريو.
سعاد طعانك كامل برغبة شديدة وتهمس في أذني.
ولا يهمك يا كامل.
ليك بس ايه تعبان شوية؟
نجرب بعدين. يلا نجرب بعد شوية.
طب أنا قدامك أهو.
انت لو عايزة ده انا هجيب لك الكاست كله كمان.
This is a film about how not to be kissed in a film.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's deeper than that.
That film it also has, I think that this, we were just talking about themes in film, and this film also, I think a lot of the themes that are often in non-Western and particularly non-Hollywood films are films that are kind of self-reflexive. So they're like constantly thinking about the filmmaking process in the place where they're making films. Yeah. And so this film has kind of the main plot of the film is about this actress who has kind of a change of heart where she decides that she doesn't want to do this kissing scene. And so this new filmmaker is trying to make this film, and this is like a very important scene in the film, and she just refuses to do it. And then there's a subplot about the history of kissing in Egyptian film, and there's a lot of really interesting archival footage. And then he's the main director and the documentary director are sort of working with Mohammed Khan and other, he's now passed, but kind of institutional Egyptian filmmakers. And so there's these many levels of kind of thinking of the history of Egyptian filmmaking, how it works within the context of Hollywood cinema, but also in how Egyptian film industry develops.
Another film about the foreign body. This is an interesting film here. This is about, it has a lot of also about sexuality, but also about immigrants and sexuality and immigrants. That's a big topic these days, especially with a lot of twist in that film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are, and I think that film. What I think is really interesting about that film in particular is that this Tunisian woman who ends up in France illegally, immigrating to France illegally, meets up with a woman who played by Hayam Abbas, who had immigrated to France.
She's in a lot of movies.
She's also in a lot of movies. She's yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You could have an entire Hayam Abbas festival. It would be amazing. Yeah, she's pretty great. But she immigrated through legal channels, through marriage, and her husband is no longer alive, and these two women meet, and through the narrative of the film, and I think what's interesting about it, the director is really interested, the director, also a female director from Tunisia, she's really interested in thinking about sexuality of women and of migrants, but also just thinking about the way that the body, how does migration affect the body, and how do we think about the actual physical person who is migrating or immigrating, and now through mostly illegal conversations.
Well, I was asking people, I'm gonna be talking to you, do you have any question for you? And somebody asked, how your involvement with film and Mezna affect your life?
Well, it does sometimes affect my whole life. Well, I think I was a PhD student. I am still, I'm just finishing up, and I was studying literature, Arabic and Arab American literature, and I started working with Mizna after just taking like an Arab cinema class at the U. And I mean, I think that it transformed my project. I started working far more on film once I got involved in the film festival. And I just started, I'd always, known a lot about film and worked in film and known lots of filmmakers, but I think it really changed my relationship to the local film community, and also just working with Mizna. Like when I first moved here, I didn't know anyone, and I feel like it was like I found a home base, like through the organization, but also through film. And so I think that it's had a pretty profound effect on my life in the Twin Cities, absolutely.
In 2 weeks in San Antonio, Maine, 20 films in 4 days. It's intensive. It's beautiful that you see that Arabs, and especially Arab women, are telling their stories. And so come join us and have fun, meet people, have a drink. It's a beautiful venue there. There is a lot of things you can do beside the film.
A people without land for a land without people. So they wanted to give the Jews a land because they didn't have land. But the problem is that the land they gave them had people. It was inhabited by Palestinians for thousands of years.
UNIT had orders to evict all the Palestinian villages and towns in that particular region. So it was an ethnic cleansing master plan.